Joining us now from Las Vegas, former Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Mayor, let's start with the numbers from the two states which are going to be holding contests over the next 2 weeks. Put them up on the screen. In Nevada, you're in 5th place with 10% support. In South Carolina, you're also in 5th place with 7.5% support. You're trailing Tom Steyer in both states. How important is it for you to do well, much better than those numbers, in both of those states to show that you can get support in states with a big minority voting bloc?
Well, it's very important for us to do well, and we're on the ground working to earn those good results here in Nevada, and we'll be campaigning hard for every vote in South Carolina as well. We've seen how fluid it is. Of course, I don't have billions of dollars of my own money to pour into the airwaves, but what we do have is a vision that, as we've demonstrated in New Hampshire and Iowa, can bring people together, and a commitment as we come to more racially diverse states to speak to the concerns of voters who are here. Here in Nevada, for example, we've got over 100 organizers on the ground, volunteers as we speak, getting ready to go out and talk to fellow Nevadans in a state that looks to the future, and in a state where I'm encountering a lot of workers concerned about how these political decisions are going to affect them, whether it's workers who are concerned about health care and how to preserve the health care choice that is so important to them, people concerned about immigration reform and wanting to know that we're seriously going to get something done, and a lot of people looking to the future worried about climate. This is a state that is in many ways reflective of the future of America, and really excited to be on the ground here working to earn that support in the week that remains.
How damaging if you don't show strong support among Latinos in Nevada, African Americans in South Carolina, because that question of whether or not you can get support from those minorities, of course, is the big knock on your campaign.
Well, I'll leave it to pundits to do the political analysis. What I will say is, of course, it is extremely important to earn support from voters across the board. And when you look at the way that Latino voters here in Nevada know that they are under siege in this administration, talking to black voters who are sick and tired of the economic disempowerment alongside the injustices of systemic racism, and looking for a president who can actually bring change to Washington, and more than anything, looking for a nominee who can defeat Donald Trump. We are ready to go out and have that conversation. You know, this more than anything else, I think for so many voters, and certainly a lot of voters that of color that I talk to across the Latino, the black, and the AAPI communities, is about making sure that we get this right. You know, the Senate demonstrated that it's not going to hold this president accountable. It is up to us. In 2020, it is our only shot. And as we see this president, as he's demonstrated interfering in criminal prosecutions, growing more and more emboldened, so much is on the line. We dare not get this wrong, and that means nominating a candidate who can challenge this president on his own terms and put together enough winning coalition that we can have some coattails too and make gains in the Senate.
I want to talk about how this race is beginning to shape up, because after 2 states it is beginning to shape up. In New Hampshire, the so-called moderate candidates won more than 50% of the vote of voters in that state, but which was double what Bernie Sanders got, but he won in New Hampshire because he had that left lane, the more liberal lane, all to himself, while the so-called more moderate lane was kind of clogged up by you and Biden and Klobuchar, all of whom split up the votes. How concerned are you that the moderate lane, if you will, is getting so crowded that you could be leaving the road to the nomination open to Bernie Sanders?
Well, I think that's what voters right now are in the process of settling. Look, there are a lot of different candidacies with a lot of different visions. But the vision of my candidacy is that we're going to have to bring change to Washington, that we can't confront the most disruptive president in modern times by falling back on the same playbook, just as we also can't do it by telling people that their only options are between a revolution or the status quo. We've been able to demonstrate our ability to get diehard Democrats, yes, but also independents and even some Republicans to cross over and support my vision and what our campaign stands for. And I believe that's going to serve us well here in Nevada, South Carolina, and beyond.
And then, despite if you're able to winnow your way through all of those folks, then on Super Tuesday, you face another centrist candidate in Mayor Mike Bloomberg. And over really the last week and a half, there have been a series of stories about his comments on stop and frisk and redlining. And as I discussed with Kellyanne Conway, a big story in the Washington Post today about a long history of him making sexist, profane comments to women who worked for his company, some of whom said that it created a hostile workplace. How troubled are you by these allegations and this evidence of alleged sexism and racism?